Are you struggling to adjust to the changes that you've faced since retirement? I mean, whether it's adapting to these new daily routines or managing finances or dealing with health challenges, either your own or a loved one's, retirement can also bring unexpected shifts. And with so many changes to navigate and more that can arise even at any moment, it's essential that we develop strategies to help us adapt. Hi, I'm Gail Jervis, and welcome to Life After 65. I'm an avid reader, I'm an avid researcher, and I've recently made it my mission to use those skills of mine to explore all the ways my husband and I can live healthier, happier, and more fulfilling lives as we learn to redefine aging. And I started this channel to share what I'm learning with anyone else who has the same goal. In today's episode, I'd like to share what I've been learning about how we can manage the many changes that you and I could be experiencing since retirement. And I've discovered some practical strategies that I think can help us respond to all those changes a lot more successfully. So first, Dr. Ann Maston. She's a renowned developmental psychologist, and she tells us what we already know. We need to develop adaptive strategies. And adaptive strategies, what is that? Well, they're techniques or actions that help us manage and cope with all the changes and challenges in our lives. Now, here's some key aspects of her research that I thought was particularly helpful to us. One, we need social support. When we chat with others who are also going through a variety of changes, we seem to respond better to our own challenges. She also says we also need to develop the perspective that change is a natural process in life. We can accomplish this by cultivating the belief that I can learn something from these new situations so that the changes can offer me opportunities for development rather than being such a threat to me. We can also reflect on the past. Consider all the changes we've already experienced in life, and this can help build confidence in our ability that, yes, of course, it's tough, there's some challenges, but we can handle our current changes. But it's not easy. We must work on accepting that, yes, change is inevitable. And when all these changes become overwhelming, we have to learn to concentrate on aspects of our lives that we can influence, on changes we have some control over. Another point I thought was really good that she mentions is we also approach our changes without as much resistance when we maintain our physical health through regular exercise and healthy lifestyle choices. Now, a second strategy to help us adapt to all of our changes comes from psychologist Dr. Martin Seligman. And he's considered to be the father of positive psychology. Well, what does he suggest? He suggests that we need to focus on our strengths and virtues, which increases our resilience as we confront these current changes. He also reminds us that we must intentionally focus on those positive emotions, such as gratitude and optimism, to help us through all of the transitions we keep going through. We should be focusing more on solutions rather than, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to do. I've got so many problems. To help us become more positive, I like what he suggests. He recommends the 3 good things exercise. Now, what's that? Well, 1, each night before going to bed, take a few minutes to reflect on our day and identify 3 positive things that happened. These can be small, insignificant events. It can be just, I enjoyed a good meal, or someone called me, I appreciated the call, or I actually got up and completed a task. The second step is write down those 3 good things in a journal or a notebook. This practice helps shift focus away from the overwhelming changes and helps us focus on the positive aspects of each day, no matter how small. I mean, you could have something really beautiful and wonderful. You could write down, I've enjoyed a beautiful sunrise, or enjoyed a delicious meal, or received a hug from a friend. All those things, small and large, can contribute to a sense of our gratitude and well-being. Now, what do we do with those 3 things? This is where I think he takes it a step up from all the usual things we hear about. Be grateful. he says, write a brief explanation of why that good thing happened. Example, if you wrote down that I enjoyed having a peaceful walk in the park today, why did it happen? Well, it may have been a result of your decision to go for a daily walk, giving priority to your emotional and physical well-being. Or what if you had appreciated your husband one day and you were really happy that he took the garbage out, and oh honey, I just appreciate you taking out the garbage all the time. I never seem to remember. And then the next night he compliments you on a meal. Why did it happen? Might be a result because you were so positive and encouraging to him. Martin Seligman believes that as we reflect each day on those 3 good things, we're actually training our brains to focus on how we might actually have control over many things that occur in the day. What does that do? Well, that gives us reassurance, gives us hope. When we consider some changes that just seem to be out of control, it reminds us, wait, there were some things that was in my control, and there might be more things I can control here too. 3, another strategy, 3rd strategy to help us during changes in our lives. It comes from Dr. John Kabat-Zinn. Now, some of you may be familiar with his many books. One of them is called Catastrophe Living. Now, in each book, he seems to always emphasize the same thing. He emphasizes how the practice of mindfulness, meditation, and yoga can help people promote their overall well-being. He believes that, well, not just believes, he believes that there's been a lot of research findings that's indicated that what he's saying is true. Anyways, these 3 strategies can help any one of us who are stressed, perhaps by a new lifestyle or by pain and illness. And this can be another adaptive change for seniors. I mean, check out any YouTube videos to learn more about meditation and yoga. I mean, there's even channels that shows you how you can do chair yoga if you have mobility limitations. And if you're a person of faith, you may also find that scriptural readings and prayer can also give you peace and a sense of well-being. That has been well researched also. There's an app. You could download the very popular app. It's called Headspace. Now, they can give you a trial of 7 days to try it out, and you can choose what meditation you would like. And each day, they deliver a new meditation to your phone or computer every day. And they can deliver daily inspirational videos to help you start your day with a positive well-being. They try to remind you that, yes, you're in control. There's so many things you are capable of. And there's another app called Abide, and it's a Christian app, very similar, except they have Christian meditation, Christian scripture, and again, they give you a 7-day free trial. I'll leave that in the comments below just for you to be able to check it out. Number 4. The 4th strategy to help us during changes in our lives comes from Dr. Michael White and Dr. David Epstein. Now, their strategy is called narrative therapy, and this emphasizes the power of storytelling in understanding and transforming our life experiences. Now, the psychologists assume that we are storytelling with the therapist, and that, hey, might be an exceptionally good idea. However, you might also be able to gain some benefits by even practicing narrative therapy at home. You could try writing your story, or perhaps just recording your story to make it feel more natural. Or if you have someone you really trust, you could narrate your story to that person. Now, what am I talking about? What do you need to do about creating the story? Here's some questions that we can answer in our story about retirement. 1, reframe our retirement narrative. What are my current beliefs and expectations about my retirement? Do I see it as one of loss and uncertainty, or is it one of new opportunities and growth and freedom? Can I see retirement as a chapter in my life story rather than that end point? Can I cultivate a more positive outlook as I reflect on my beliefs and expectations about this retirement? How can I reframe all the changes and transitions that are occurring throughout my retirement? Now, the second way, externalize your challenges. Give the challenge that you have a name or identity. For example, instead of saying, oh, I'm getting so worried, I'm just anxious. No. You might say, anxiety is affecting me. Okay, so that It's what it's saying is that anxiety is not you, like I'm anxious. No, anxiety is affecting me. This linguistic shift helps to see the problem as something outside of yourself. And what does that mean? That means, oh, this problem I might be able to manage. I might be able to change. And when you share how you're overwhelmed by the changes during your retirement, you can give these changes names as retirement blues. So once you've shared your story using this one change, ask yourself if this can help you develop strategies for managing your fears about retirement. I mean, the purpose of this strategy is to help individuals address their issues more objectively and reduces self-blame or anxiety. To give you an example, let's imagine Mary. Now, Mary has recently retired, and she is feeling overwhelmed by all the sudden changes in her lifestyle even. Now, in narrative therapy, Mary will externalize her fears by giving them a name or identity. And she has decided to call it retirement anxiety. By personifying her anxiety in this way, Mary is separating it from herself, and she's gaining a different perspective on her feelings. Mary might start by describing retirement anxiety as this persistent voice in her head, constantly reminding her of all the things she's afraid of. I mean, I'm afraid of retirement anxiety is telling me I've got a fear of boredom, the fear of feeling irrelevant, the fear of losing connections with my former friends who I worked with, the fear of not knowing what to do with my time. By externalizing her fears and giving them a name, Mary can begin to recognize that they are not inherent aspects of herself, but rather thoughts and emotions that she's experiencing. Retirement anxiety, you're making me feel this way. And this realization can empower her to challenge and manage her retirement anxiety more effective. She can start to question its validity. Is retirement anxiety right that I should be frightened? Can it help her explore alternative narratives about retirement that are more hopeful, more empowering? For example, Mary might counter retirement anxiety's voice in her head by reminding herself of all the times in the past when she successfully navigated transitions and adapted to new circumstances. And she can also seek support from friends and family or a therapist who can help her to explore her fears and develop coping strategies. Through this process of externalization and dialogue, Mary can begin to reclaim a sense of control over her retirement experience, gradually easing her feelings of feeling overwhelmed and anxious. 3, she can also create an alternative narrative, another exercise in narrative therapy. And sometimes, it's not necessarily an either or, there can be a whole build-up using each one of those approaches. But in this particular one, it's to focus on your abilities and successes as you describe your challenges. In this narrative, you focus on your strengths, your skills, and resources that you can use to help you in all of these transitions, so that in this alternative narrative, you imagine yourself as a person who is resilient, growing as a person, as someone who can overcome obstacles and find fulfillment in new pursuits, relationships, or experiences. So back to our example of Mary's fears about retirement. Well, she can create an alternative story. In her alternative story, Mary imagines retirement as that time of exploration, growth, and self-discovery. And she's no longer seeing it as the end of her productive years. She's beginning to see it as a new chapter. It's filled with endless possibilities. Instead of feeling anxious about the uncertainty of this new phase in her life, Mary's embracing it right now as an opportunity to pursue her passions, pursue her interests. Mary begins to identify her strengths and her values and her interests so that she's becoming excited now about retirement. In this alternative story, Mary acknowledges that, of course, there'll be challenges along the way, but she's seeing them as opportunities for growth, for learning. She reframes moments of solitude as opportunities for self-reflection and rejuvenation rather than, oh my gosh, I'm going to be left alone, I'm going to be isolated. As Mary begins to live out this alternative story, she finds herself feeling more empowered and fulfilled. She discovers a sense of purpose and meaning in her retirement. All those things that she had not anticipated. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the changes in her lifestyle, Mary embraces them with open arms, confident in her ability to navigate this new chapter of her life with resilience and optimism. Okay, I've just given a very brief summary of narrative therapy, but if you think it's an approach that you'd like to pursue, you might like to read the narrative therapy workbook. It helps you deconstruct your story, challenging any unhealthy beliefs, and helps you to reclaim your life in a much more positive way. It was written in 2022 by Jeannie Hill. She's a licensed clinical social worker. Now 5. A fifth strategy to help us during changes comes from Dr. Susan Folkman and Dr. Richard Lazarus. They created a model of stress and coping that include questions for you to consider in their model of stress. Now 1, does our situation pose any threat, harm, or challenge? Do any of these challenges or changes impact your sense of control, your identity, and your well-being? Second question to consider, what resources do you have in order to cope with your challenges and changes? Your resources can involve your own personal strengths, social support networks, and available resources for adapting to the changes as a result of retirement. How can you use these resources to help you better manage all the changes and all the challenges? In their model, Susan Coleman and Richard Lazarus also identified the importance of distinguishing strategies. Now, I think I said Coleman, and it's Susan Folkman. Susan Folkman and Richard Lazarus identified the importance of distinguishing strategies. One is problem-focused. The second is emotion-focused strategies. Now, problem-focused coping involves taking direct action to change or eliminate that source of stress. We would identify areas, specific stressors, such as our loss of daily routines, our financial concerns, or our social isolation. When we pinpoint the exact challenge that you feel you're facing, you begin to brainstorm potential solutions or actions to address them. If you're missing seeing colleagues at work and are feeling socially isolated, what are some solutions? Could you join a club or a community group or volunteer? I mean, that's called problem-solving coping. You consider one change and you solve it by breaking the solution down into smaller, manageable steps. For example, if you are considering moving into a smaller home or into a lifestyle community, break this decision down into smaller, manageable steps. Begin uncluttering. Just get rid of things in your larger home. The second phase might be just start looking at homes and neighborhoods just to give you an idea of where you might want to live. And third, make any changes or upgrades you want to do before you put your house up for sale. And then finally, fourth, ask yourself, well, am I now emotionally ready to sell my home? Can I begin this change? As part of a problem-focused coping strategy, is there information you need to help you in this process of change? Do you need a financial advisor? Do you need to attend a workshop, perhaps on lifestyle changes in retirement? Do you need to talk to others who have already experienced the challenges that you are experiencing? That is problem-focused coping. But Folkman and Lazarus identified the importance also of emotion-focused coping. Now, these strategies can include some of the things we've already talked about: mindfulness, relaxation techniques, yoga, journaling about one's thoughts and feelings about all these changes, seeking emotional support from your friends or family members or even a support group, engaging in those self-care activities. Even in the midst of all these changes, we're supposed to still engage in hobbies or activities because that helps us already reduce our stress. Now, I've mentioned 5 different strategies that could help us manage the various kinds of changes we are experiencing. And in each strategy, there's some overlap of what they suggest we can do. I mean, don't think you need to implement all of these coping strategies all at one time. I mean, just reflect on which strategies right now, or in one, which strategy could be helpful to me at this particular moment with my particular challenge. I'd love to hear your comments below, hearing about how you have managed through your challenges and changes, whether you think any of the strategies that I've mentioned that I've read about from psychologists, have you tried any of them? Have they worked? And if you've decided to subscribe to this channel, please indicate in the comments below, because I want to thank you. Now, I'd like to leave you and end this episode with the following quote from English author Arnold Bennett. And he gives us a good reminder about changes. He wrote, "Any change, even a change for the better, is always accompanied by discomforts." So if you enjoyed this episode, please press the like button and click on the next video that will show up right now on this screen, so that hopefully there'll be even more information that you will gain from the next video. Bye now.